So I'll call to order at 5:17. Yeah, thank you. And introduction of board members, let's start with Steve Orzick.
Steve Orlick, ACSD, I live in Middlebury.
Tim Farnham, community at large from Mount Abe, and I live in New Haven.
Nicole McTavish, I'm the Superintendent Director here at the Hannaford Center.
Dan Rosignol, I'm Northwest Addison District at Large.
Okay. Yeah.
Wendy Pratt, Assistant Director at the Career Center.
Rebecca Goulet, Business Manager at the Career Center.
And online, Judd.
Judd Markowski, resident of Bridport and WID member. And if you see me in strange positions, my back has given me all sorts of issues, so I'll be listening, but I may have to stretch at the same time.
Thank you, Judd. Bill?
William Biederman, Middlebury, WID.
And Steve Rooney?
You're muted.
You're muted, Steve.
Steve Rooney, representing MAUSD.
Thank you, Steve. And I need a motion to approve the agenda that's been presented.
I move that we approve the agenda that was published.
Second.
Second from Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Seeing none, approve the agenda. Any public comments? Anybody on?
No.
Patrice? Not seeing anybody for the agenda. And correspondence, we have 2 resignations. One from the maintenance supervisor and from Dr. Love, who is our board WIB member. I don't know if we want to read those, or everybody's familiar with what a resignation looks like. Was that included in the packet?
It was.
Okay, thank you. Any questions about that from anybody?
The supervisor, it was pretty quick. I don't know if I can comment now, it's August 17th was his last day. Is there a 2-week notice or?
He did give a 2-week notice.
It said in the letter that he did give 2 weeks.
You know, is there any overlap for training or, you know, it's pretty hard to just have these guys just go, so. All right.
We have a pretty seasoned staff, I would say.
Okay.
That was evident the other night. During
Good
the
to
flood.
hear. Good to hear.
Okay, so the consent agenda, we're gonna take a look at the minutes for the June 15th and June 22nd. Any questions about those? Any changes, omissions, or anything that you find we need to look at? Steve?
Dr. McTavish, isn't your son's name Trey?
Try.
It is Trey?
Yes.
Oh, okay, because I was looking at.
TRY, yes.
Okay. That was right.
And monthly payables for June and July. Rebecca, you want to read those numbers for us?
Yeah, I got the July ones here.
Okay, thank you.
I attached June ones, maybe, I forgot about the June ones. But the July ones on the general fund was $73,972.88. Payroll for July, there was $10,201.01 on July 7th. And then an additional pay on July 7th as well for $985, and then July 21st, $31,705.25. Nothing for adult education in the month of July. The revolving enterprise account was $346.45. Student activities was $1,284.51. Nothing for the scholarship fund or for the BERF, which is the Building and Equipment Reserve Fund. And on the energy bond issue, there was $350,313.90. The total for the month for expenditures was $468,809. So it's a small month. We paid a lot of stuff at the end of June, and we haven't gotten going too much yet.
And for you members that are online, we have some, what would they call them? I'm sorry.
Director's
The
orders.
director's orders that have been signed by 2 board members, so they need 2 signatures, but that would take care of this evening.
Okay.
Alrighty. And reviewed, I should say. So I believe I need a motion for the consent agenda. Not at all. Linda, thank you. but for action items, we'll have to do that for, okay. So I do need a motion, the resignation of the maintenance supervisor and acceptance of the, Dr. Love's, board member resignation for both of those. I do need an action.
So moved.
Yes. Bill?
So moved. Second.
No, thank you.
Second, Steve.
Steve Rooney? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
The, any abstentions? So moved, is accepted. Approve a step up in column and contract for an instructor, I believe it's our engineering instructor. Is that something,
So as part of the master agreement, she did notify the board that she was anticipating that happening, and we've received the transcript, so
okay,
it's common that we would
that
do
was my
that.
question, yeah. It may be a, I don't know how you wanna do that, since we have all new people, and it's a note to faculty about how that, who gets what versus the board member, because I think it came through Steve Rooney at one point.
Could I ask a clarifying?
Yeah, I was a little too confused as to whether or not this is something the board needed to take action on.
Right.
Yeah, I think there are some processes that we will probably ask the board if we can move away from past practice. I'm not entirely sure why this is generally on the board agenda. It wouldn't necessarily be that. So I will, as we iron out how we're gonna do our process, I'm going to ask that we move to more of a consent agenda for these sorts of things where the board just approves an entire set of requests at one time rather than move through them one by one. And this sort of thing would generally be on a personnel consent agenda, which would be, usually all the teachers do this at one time. Once a year, you would move all the teachers up on a step rather than them coming in individually.
I do
Well, yeah, I
think-
mean, I would think once we negotiated the contract, that would simply be a matter of business
Correct.
to execute it, and whatever variety of, actions need to be taking place without the board knowing every one of those details.
Correct.
So I had a question, so you're saying step up in column, and I normally think of a column shift
She moved a
is
column, it
different
was a
than.
column movement.
Okay, so the
Yeah,
column move, so that's what the documentation was for?
correct.
Oh, okay.
And
Then
the reason I think it came to this light is the way it's worded in the master agreement is that they have to notify the board, which I think,
Right.
maybe we could change that in negotiation, they just notify the superintendent/business office. And I think that's why it came to this light, because of the wording in the master agreement, so we can
Yeah,
wordsmith
Note
that,
to take.
hopefully,
for sure.
when we enter that negotiation.
She was just trying to do everything correctly, so, yeah.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
normally, you either say step up or move a column, and it said step up in a column, and I wanted clarification on that.
Steps
Yeah, I
in
think
single
it's-
columns,
It's actually just a column shift, isn't it?
column movement,
It
yeah.
is a column shift.
Yeah, it's just education, not years.
So I guess my question is whether or not we need a motion for that.
Well, it is on the action agenda, so.
And we could accept,
I would say we could, the action could be for the board to defer to the business office to execute the,
Steve, I'm not sure we can do that until that contract changes.
oh, because there's some kind of confusion with the contract language?
Right, it says
The board must,
the board must, be notified. So until that wording is changed, it'll have to be.
Okay, all right.
Could, in the motion, it would probably be safe to name the instructor. On the agenda, it just says instructor, and I know you said it was the engineering instructor, so I would be willing to make a motion, but I would be more comfortable saying who it was.
I would be a little reluctant,
Yeah.
just because it would tell the world how much a specific teacher made.
That's right.
I thought that information was public anyway.
Well, all it would really do is say that we move them on a column. I'm not sure anybody could identify,
Okay.
what that was. I mean, this is a specific approval for a specific person, so it's a little hard not to name them. So, think I agree with Steve. I think we should name them. We don't necessarily have to say anything more about, where they are on the chart. Nobody could figure that out unless they wanted to somehow quote the instructor directly.
How about this? How about if I move that, as per contract, that the board is executing a column move for an instructor who has submitted the correct documentation. Would that satisfy everyone? Okay. And that's
Sounds
what-
good to me.
Did you get that one?
Yeah, Linda is the only one I
I
want to
need
make
you
sure.
to say it again.
Oh, okay. I move that we execute the contract to move an instructor to a different column based on documentation they have provided.
Okay, thank you.
Is that good enough?
And who seconded the first motion?
I'll second.
This one?
Is that Bill?
So Steve, you're agreeing to withdraw the first motion?
Mhm.
Steve Rooney? Did Steve Rooney give you the first motion?
I didn't think
I
there was a
didn't have
motion.
any other
Okay,
motion.
Thank you.
This is
All right,
the
so
only
we're
one.
good.
Yeah, I think we were painting it around. I'm not sure it was an actual.
Okay.
Because there was a discussion as whether we needed a motion. And I think
Yeah.
we made a motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Abstentions? And so moved. So this next part, I think legally, because I was the vice chair, I thought, Nicole and I had this discussion about the fact that we should probably have a vote on both of those positions for the record. So I'm going to turn the meeting over right now to Nicole to accept nominations for the board chair.
I would like to accept nominations for the board chair.
I would like
I
to,
nominate Kim.
Kim Farnham?
Kim, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do.
So I am open to accepting other nominations. None heard. Would somebody like to vote on the nomination of Kim as the chair?
I move that we appoint Kim Farnham as the board chair for the coming academic year.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, I will turn the meeting back over to our new chair.
Thank you, Kim.
Anyway, as board chair, I'm looking for nominations for vice chair.
I move we nominate Steve, Orzik as the vice chair.
Any other nominations? Seeing and hearing none, Steve, you willing to take on this position?
Yes, I am.
All right. All those in favor of having Steve Orzik as the vice chair? Please say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? He is the vice chair, congratulations.
Thank you.
So the next point that we have is an action item, is a discussion appointing new WIP members to the board. We started that discussion in the last meeting. Nicole, I don't know if you want to add, only because you've got some more people that might be interested.
Right, just to refresh our memories, we have two now resignations from board members who are sitting in good positions. In conversation with several of our entities that are our partners, the Economic Development Council and the Agriculture Council, and an interested steering committee in the manufacturing area, there is some discussion from the community about those positions representing industries that Patricia Hannaford is either heavily involved with or looking to recruit to be involved with. And so just giving the board information to take under advisement as part of the discussion, that there does seem to be community interest in having those positions related to the fields that we either teach or hope to teach here at the Hannaford Center.
So Nicole, I have a question from last week because I think we were looking for the language
to find out how many board members we were allowed to have,
Correct.
because the discussion last week, I think, was that we had 4 industries that weren't represented. And I didn't know if we would be allowed to bring on more than the 2 that are now vacant.
So we have spent quite a lot of time canvassing, trying to find this information. We were marginally successful. We were able to get a package of information from the state of Vermont, which discusses the original standing up of the Hannaford Center. What it doesn't discuss is the makeup of the board, the rules about the makeup of the board, or anything about the governance of the Hannaford Center. We have also been in touch with Ruth Durkee. I just happened to spend most of last week with her at the new superintendent's orientation and then at the conference. And she is meeting tomorrow with the records clerk at AOE to see if they have the information in their records for us. So I do not have the information that you're asking for yet, but we're getting closer.
You know, one thing I'm curious about is whether or not, you know, these agreements were sort of made with the sending schools. And one, whether or not the sending schools have any record of this, or I would think it would have had to have been recorded with the town clerks at some point as well. There might be something in the town clerk's office.
I have not checked the town clerk. We will check them.
I spoke with Fred last week, and he had heard that this was being looked for, and he didn't have any record of it either, Fred Kenny.
Right, he has also spoken about hoping to find this document. So I will definitely reach out to the town clerks, and I will reach out to each of the sending superintendents and find out if their records might indicate this. Their actual agreement where they signed on to let us be our own school district is included in the package that we got from the state of Vermont, but there's no additional information to be helpful.
Okay.
And Kim, do you have any way to touch base with any prior board chairs? Like Jason or Lynn?
By the looks of the agreement that was discovered, we're talking like 2004.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a few, you know, former chair people around, but I'm not sure if they're gonna have their hand on that. I know Lynn Cole had, you know, his interest with the WIB group, you know, he served on that group also, so, you know, he was very open about, you know, trying to get members from that group to come in and serve on the board in those positions. We, in the past, when I first started, had an active member from what's known as Collins right now, and she happened to be on for a number of years. We had somebody from Ag, who Linda's familiar with, who was on for a number of years, and you know, those 2 areas are obviously represented, but I mean, somebody in industry, I think is going to be a helpful position. We have others.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, no doubt. Just curious whether or not, you know, somebody had some historical knowledge.
Right. In the meantime, I'll just ask if anybody knows anybody that's interested in doing that from the workforce group. You know, putting names and feelers out there is another way to do that, to see if we can generate some interest, because a lot of times they don't know those positions are open.
Yeah.
So that's another thing, is that if we do get to that point, we may need to address it in Addie, India, wherever, just to see if we can get some interest in doing that.
So, Missy and Suzanne, those were kind of tentative appointments because we don't really do anything around education.
Steve, can you speak up just a little bit? I can barely hear you.
I said that the loss of Missy and Suzanne, that was around secondary education, which I don't know that we have any programs to directly address that. But Tiffany, that's health professions, that's one of the big ones. Did the hospital?
Hospital's been contacted.
Okay.
There's somebody who's tentatively taken over her position, and I put the word out that if she couldn't do it, is there somebody else, a director under her, that would be interested in doing that? And I will rattle her chain soon. I'm trying to give her a couple of weeks to see if she can find somebody, because she's taken on 2 different jobs as a VP. So that's definitely a connection that I feels really important to continue from the hospital.
I don't have his number, but a person who seems to be the right personality and might be really interested is Eric Andrus. He's up in Addison Northwest. He's a farmer there, and he did a lot of work with Regenens. Bill, I'm blanking on his last name, the ag teacher.
Scott,
What?
Bill Scott.
Bill Scott,
Bill, what?
Scott.
No.
Vanderwerf.
Vanderwerf, that's the one. Bill Vanderwerf, worked with him as well, so, I mean, I don't have any contact information from him, but, he had us out there planting rice when he was doing that rice experiment. Freshman class was out there doing that, so he does that kind of stuff, so, he might be interested if someone tapped him.
Would you like to take that on?
I would love to, but I don't have any contact information for him.
I'm happy to reach out to Eric. I actually built his rice paddies several years ago,
There you
so
go.
I'm happy to reach out to him and see if he'd join.
I'm sure they're thriving this year.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other pieces that you feel we need to talk about in conversation regarding those two appointments? Seeing none, I'm gonna move on for the informational agenda, board reports. I'm not sure how many people have actually met. I know budget hasn't met, we're not gonna meet till September, but facilities?
Facilities.
Yeah, we did not meet.
Okay.
Oh.
Policy?
Policy, after we did that big blanket thing, and the two extra,
Right.
Policy, we haven't seen any reason to meet, first of all.
Okay.
And second of all, I haven't heard anything, from VSBA that there are new policies that need to be adopted, so, I was gonna hold, I mean, 9/14, that's a little bit out there, so let's see what happens before then. But, no, there was no reason to meet in August.
Nicole, do you wanna?
Sure, you have the superintendent report in the packet that I sent out last week. What will be in tomorrow's superintendent report is that we are forming our leadership team, and I will put the names of the folks who have volunteered and been also selected for the leadership team in that packet. Also, we've decided after walking around and looking at the spaces and the level of work that teachers are going to need to do to move back into their spaces, that with our 5 professional development days at the beginning of the school year, we're going to take half of one as a welcome back and a breakfast and a meeting of new staff, and let the teachers have the other 4.5 for moving back into their spaces. I think that's the right thing to do right now. And people that don't have a lot to move, we're going to ask them to help those who do. And this is a really collegial staff. I have confidence that will happen. I also spent a very rainy evening at the Addison County Fair and Field Days. That very first day was when I went. But it was great because there was no one there. And I got to go around and talk to all the kids and see all the animals. And it was actually really gratifying to have a little bit of one-on-one time when it wasn't so busy. I also met with the high school, Middlebury Union High School principal, Dr. Caitlin Steele, about collaboration between the Art Center and the school, especially on schedule, and looking at how IB and the Patricia Hannaford Center schedules can match up so that our students have more opportunities. She is very open and excited about that collaboration, and it was a really good meeting. I also met with our community partners at MCTV. I met with Kurt Broderson. He gave me a tour of the space and showed me the projects that they're working on, and was very excited about any opportunities that we might have to have kids come over and learn about what they do there. I also attended the VSA, the Vermont Superintendent Association's new superintendent orientation, which was actually really good. I was not really wanting to be out of the building, but it turned out to be very worth it. We spent a lot of time talking about Vermont law and Vermont, how finances for schools work in Vermont, which is very different than I'm used to, so it was really good. I went there and learned that. And then I also attended AOE's new superintendent orientation, which was a very different event, much more about the politics of the policy behind how schools are the way they are here. and all of those different varieties of school districts that are here in Vermont, so that was good. I was also happy to be assigned a mentor. Actually, I have 2 mentors. One is Megan Roy, who is the superintendent of the Washington Central Unified School District, and Jody Emerson, who is the superintendent of Central Vermont Career Center. So both of those ladies have agreed to mentor me on all things Vermont, and so I'm really excited for that partnership. I think they'll be good sounding boards. And then the other pieces, I did talk to Judy Stein, and we have established that at the October board meeting is when she will come and do the phase 5 work with you, and we'll do it very much like we did with the school board ladies that were here. We'll have our meeting at the very beginning at 4 o'clock, and then we'll give Judy the balance of the time to do the phase 5 training. And that is largely going to be about superintendent evaluation and board relations. So that's my report.
Steve, 2 things. Good, kudos for giving teachers 4.5 days to move in. I know that that's going to really be important, and thank you for doing that. The second thing is, did Caitlin mention the strategic plan for equity at ACSD? It specifically mentions working more closely with the Career Center. It hasn't been adopted yet, but it is in the works.
Okay.
And it's recognizing alternative pathways other than college, post-secondary, and some other things. So not only should you be starting to hear from Caitlin, you might soon be hearing from a couple of committees from their board.
Wonderful.
So,
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions from board members online?
I'm assuming some of those reports weren't actually issued this month.
Mine was not, the assistant director was not.
Yeah.
I've been here 7 days, and pretty much everything Nicole has done, I've been with her. So I can say ditto.
Well, I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything in a packet or an
Yeah.
email or something, so.
I
No,
appreciate
the
that.
things I just spoke about will be in tomorrow's board report that comes out via email.
Right, but there's a business report and a couple other ones that are listed there that we have every month, but I think some of them weren't issued this month, the summer.
I did add a short business office report. Most of my time has been recently with the construction project and assisting Nicole with giving out that information every week. So I can tell you that we got the certificate of occupancy today, so we can start moving in. We have plenty of tradespeople and laborers that are going to be available to help teachers next week if they started moving stuff today. You know, obviously, we're going to have a pretty extensive punch list, but we will be safe and ready for kids to come to school. I expect EEI will be with us through October, maybe mid-November, finishing off these punch list things, and they're committed to being there, and I feel like it's a good partnership, and we will get everything tied up at the end. But the big stuff is done. The gear switch went well, all the new units are working, so now we're just putting on the finishing touches.
Nice.
You said you would be ready for first student day, or are you going to be ready for first teacher day?
Yes.
5 days, okay.
Well, ready in the fact that they can be in the building and all their stuff will be in their classroom, and we'll have a new setup.
Okay.
That's what they've got extra people coming to help with that too.
Okay.
Wendy, did you want to add anything to your verbal report?
Well, I can say that Nicole and Patrice and I sat down today to kind of hammer out what that first morning piece is going to be, and Nicole and I have figured out how the evaluations will work through the year, and we're committed to making sure that every employee gets evaluated this year. And we have that list separated out, who's going to do who, and so looking forward to getting started on that and communicating that with the staff.
Job descriptions, is that something you guys also talked about? Updating them?
We do still have money available that, as we've been rewriting some of the the job descriptions as we've been hiring.
Mhm.
We're sending them off to the HR consultant from the auditing firm, and
Okay,
she'll be putting them in, like, doing all the legalese of it.
sure, sure.
So we're continuing to work on that as we.
But you have somebody looking at them anyway. Thank you. Any other questions about the reports that are listed? Any question about, that you might have about what committee you're on? Or need to change? Yeah. Since we have a couple of vacancies, obviously, but, doesn't sound, everybody sounds happy with where they are. Okay, good. Anyway, and we don't have anybody online for public comment, so I'm gonna ask, for a volunteer regarding policy 4.1, governing staff.
I'll go.
Thank you, Jeff.
I thought it was a good meeting despite the late start. Thank you, Steve, for being able to join lickety-split like that. That was very helpful.
You know,
I
sorry.
feel like we... oh, sorry, Steve, go on.
Just apologize for being tardy.
Anyway,
We found you.
those things happen. But yeah, thank you everybody for being patient with that and sticking around. And then once everybody was here, we got right on the agenda. We moved right through it. I would just say that we glossed over John Curler and Dr. Love's resignations. John is going to be sorely missed. He's been here a very, very long time, far longer than me. So I think it just would be good to acknowledge his many years of service and what a hole that will be left without him here. And hopefully Dr. Love is off to a bright future somewhere. Other than that, thank you all very much for a wonderful meeting.
Thank you, Jeff. And I don't know if there's any need for an executive session. Okay. Nope, no need. So, move for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Dan.
Second?
Mr. Judd? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed?
Aye.
No opposed, okay. And no abstentions.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
See you soon.